Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back to English Cast Channel. Today, subject addicting social media and how we can riddance this bad habits.
Hey, have you ever thought about why we're all so obsessed with social media?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? I think about it sometimes. I guess it's because it's such a huge part of our lives now. Why do you think we're so hooked?
I think a big part of it is the instant gratification. You post something and almost immediately you get likes, comments, and validation. It's like a quick hit of dopamine.
It feels good to get that positive feedback, but it's also kind of addictive. Sometimes I find myself scrolling mindlessly, and I can't even remember why I picked up my phone in the first place. True, it feels good to get that positive feedback, but it's also kind of addictive. Sometimes I find myself scrolling mindlessly, and I can't even remember why I picked up my phone in the first place.
Same here. It's like we've trained our brains to constantly crave that interaction. And it's not just about posting. Even just seeing what others are up to can be addictive.
Yeah, I get that. It's like a way to stay connected with friends and family, but also to see what everyone else is doing. There's this fear of missing out if you're not constantly checking.
FOMO is real. It's funny how we feel like we're missing out on something important when, in reality, we're just seeing highlights of other people's lives. It's not even the full picture.
Exactly, it's like we're comparing our everyday lives to their highlight reels. It can be exhausting, and sometimes even make us feel worse about ourselves.
Definitely. It's like a double-edged sword. On one hand, social media connects us, but on the other, it can make us feel isolated or inadequate.
For sure! I try to balance it by taking breaks and reminding myself that what I see online isn't the whole story. But it's hard when it's so ingrained in our daily routines.
That's a good approach. I've started setting time limits for my apps to avoid getting sucked in for too long. It helps, but it's still a challenge.
Well, I might try that too. It's all about finding a balance, I guess. Social media isn't all bad, but we need to be mindful of how it affects us.
Absolutely, it's a powerful tool, but like anything, moderation is key. It's up to us to use it in a way that enhances our lives, not detracts from it.
Totally. Let's just remember to live in the moment and not through a screen all the time.
Agreed. Here's to finding that balance and making the most of both our online and offline lives. Any ideas on how we can avoid getting too addicted?
Maybe we could start by setting some boundaries, like no social media during meals or right before bed.
Agreed. Here's to finding that balance and making the most of both our online and offline lives. Any ideas on how we can avoid getting too addicted?
Maybe we could start by setting some boundaries, like no social media during meals or right before bed.
That's a good idea. I've read that the blue light from screens can mess with our sleep. Plus, it's just nice to disconnect and have real conversations during meals.
Exactly. Another thing could be to set time limits on our apps. Some phones have built-in features for that.
True, I've seen those settings but never used them. I think setting a daily limit could really help. How much time do you think is reasonable?
Maybe start with an hour a day and see how that feels. We can always adjust if needed.
Or sounds doable. I also think we should find other activities to fill our time, like picking up a hobby or exercising more.
For sure. I've been wanting to read more books and maybe take up painting again. What about you?
I'd like to get back into running and maybe learn to cook some new recipes. Plus, those activities don't involve screens, so it's a win-win.
Definitely. We could also keep each other accountable, like check in at the end of the day to see how we did with our goals.
I like that. Having someone to support you always makes things easier, and if we slip up, we can encourage each other to get back on track.
Exactly. It's all about balance. Social media isn't bad in itself, but we need to use it in a way that doesn't take over our lives.
Totally agree. Let's start today. No social media during meals and set those app limits. We've got this.
We do. I'm excited to see how much more we can get out of our days without the constant scrolling.
Me too. Here's to more meaningful moments and less screen time.
What about you? Viewer, are you also ready to give up social media and return back to live life, more healthier and more comfort? We hope you like this short podcast and you get new information about addicting social medias. Thanks for watching. See you soon.